funding and grants, I'm the numbers person. I've just been waiting on the board to get a consensus on the direction we're going. We got there Monday. We haven't recrunched these numbers. This would change slightly the tax impact, but I will get them recrunched. It involves more people than me, but so I have nothing firm to tell you. Okay, committees, anything else from any of the committees? Okay, now comment from any other criminal justice coordinating committee member. If not, we'll move to comments from the public, and then the floor is still open. You can jump in if you choose. Anyone? All right. We're on to comments from the public. I know this is a lot to digest, and we're not done meeting, but here's where we are is very much a draft, and so we're interested in input. So if we could, I don't know how many people want to talk. There is a microphone in the ceiling. If you move a little closer to the room, it'll pick you up better. And please give your name and any title you want or group you want, so the auditor's minutes can capture them. Comments from the public. Mike, why don't you come on up? And I don't know where y'all want to stand, but if we keep in a similar place, we'll catch your voices.
That's fine.
That's
Okay,
perfect.
Mike Carberry, and I just had a question regarding the dates here. Like John is here and Travis is here. And if we bring this back to the May 5th vote, and for some reason it did not pass, and there's a 6-month waiting period, I noticed that the election day is November 5th, which is just slightly less than 6 months from May 7th. Could that third election, if we needed it, take place on that date, John?
I'd have to have Kingsley, the elections deputy, could check the code on that. I had wondered the same thing myself.
Okay, that's all I had.
Thanks, Mike. We don't know the answer, but we will find out. John's making a note. Comments from the public. This is your turn. Come on up. If we kind of establish the same corner, that way everybody will know where to look. And this is a official meeting, and we do create minutes. So if you are willing to state your name, that'd be great.
My name is, my name is Martha Hampel. I don't have any comments exactly. I was just wanted to clarify whether or not there were subcommittee meetings between this last meeting and this meeting. There weren't any subcommittee meetings. Okay, thanks.
I actually don't know the answer to that. With the holidays,
I don't think there were any formal meetings, individual people, no. Yeah, there's no subcommittee, yeah, at least not, I wasn't.
with all the holidays.
Yeah.
But the board has met twice this past month in informal board work session, the board of supervisors. Okay. Anything else from the public? Sam, Terry, anybody? Larry wouldn't give his name when he first came.
I'll give it now.
Okay, Larry's gonna jump in front of you, Terry.
Oh, go ahead, Terry.
Go right.
My name is Terry Downs, from the public. Certainly, the Justice Center will be one of the most important issues facing the citizens of the county this year, and also anybody contemplating running for office, as I am. So this is going to be a campaign issue. So in trying to get a handle on and be proactive and anticipate questions, I was given a list of all candidates as of December 7th. There were 148. I assume that that's probably typical. So in trying to get a handle on how long those inmates were there, I entered all those inmates into an Excel spreadsheet and calculated the number of days that they had been in the jail. And I have a few handouts. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So I hesitate to say that, it looks like another fiscal cliff. But obviously it drops off precipitously. And the reason for that is that there are at least 2 inmates that are being held on murder charges. So looking at this, it drops off very rapidly. Couple interesting statistics. The average, if I can find that. The average number of days that an inmate has been in jail is just over 50 days. That's skewed by those that have been held for a long period of time. The median, meaning those halfway above, halfway below, is only 21 days. And I think that by probably any reasonable, it is a reasonable number, given the backlog and getting them through the justices in the courts. There was an article in the paper about the shortage of court reporters. So 21 days is probably a very reasonable number. It was also interesting, the number of charges is actually averages over 2 per inmate. So, there's a protest vote against the jail, and I think this is helpful in explaining exactly what is going on in our jail, and it's not serving as a warehouse. So I just wanted to share that with you. I agree with the date of bringing that forward to the records again, and it looks like a lot of good work has been done on reducing the cost.
Terry, Janet and Jessica are both here, and the county has made some significant, we've made some changes in the last 12 months. But Janet can explain it, but we've got a case expediter, and can you explain a little bit about what Jessica does as someone comes in and?
Actually, two things. One, Jessica deals with jail terms, so she tries to evaluate and meet with inmates where there's been a question about whether they had a mental health problem that can be treated in the community, and see if she can get them hooked up with services in the community. If it's somebody who could be released, and that everybody would agree to release if they had services in the community, as well as helping to make sure that when people do get released, if they've served their sentence or whatever, they have treatment. Jessica can jump in here anytime she wants. Yeah, but that they are connected up with resources and services they need, so that they don't have the revolving door effect of coming right back in because they aren't getting the help that they need when they're out. The other thing is we don't exactly have a case expediter, but what we have done is we have a new attorney in our office, and part of that person's job is to meet with Jessica Peckover, somebody from the public defender's office, somebody from the jail staff as well, and they go over every week who is in jail and who can we get out. Is there somebody who's in there who's served as much time as we want them to serve, or is there somebody who we're just waiting to find out if they had a safe environment to go to if they left? Is there somebody who we have reassurances they're not going to leave if they're released? A variety of different things. And every week they look to see who can be released safely into the community, who are waiting probably pre-trial, or that we can get their case resolved quicker so that they're released. And that has had a significant impact on the jail population. So I think both of those things, not only looking from the mental health part, but also looking from this committee and jail alternatives committee that meets regularly, and both have an effect on decreasing the jail population. And the work with the public defender's office, jail alternatives, staff and insurance office, and our office has worked extremely well. So that's led to that decrease, so that we're actually going to be able to return quite a bit of money. We're hoping from the sheriff's office budget this year that could go into this project, because we aren't having to house nearly as many inmates outside of Johnson County.
And it kind of gets to the question that we've been successful in jail alternatives and the new county attorney staff. We've been successful in our relationships with MECA and the drug courts and everything else. But one, we can't do any more work in that area until we have space, because we have to be able to meet with them in a secure space. We have to be able to release them to work. A lot of the ideas that are out there, we can't do. We physically don't have space. So I think we understand that Jessica's going to come forward with a jail alternatives plan that may end up costing us But we hope to stabilize the inmate population, that we can capture some of the population growth of Johnson County without dramatically increasing the population of the jail. And that's why we're a little more comfortable coming forward with the project with 195 beds, is that we think that some of the things we've put in position will be able to absorb a little more population. But you can't, I mean, there's 35,000 more people in Johnson County than the day I moved here in 1990. We believe there'll be 35,000 more in 15 years. And we, no matter what we invest in jail alternatives, there's just a much bigger population. And so this
But I
is,
think
this is
reflects-
data, this is great
reflects
data.
what Janet was talking about.
Yeah.
And the people who are in jail for less are people waiting trial on murder charges or very serious felony charges. It's not people who are in there on possession of marijuana charges.
Thanks, Terry, for joining us. All right, Larry, the floor is yours if you'll state your name for the auditor.
Larry Wilson, with the Facilities Subcommittee. I didn't give my name earlier, so I'm going to harass you. I just wanted to go on record saying, I've been involved with this for a number of years now. And in fact, all of my retirement time, lifetime has been involved in it. And I'd like to say that I think the decision you made on bodies, I think the proposal go forward as you suggested is a good one. And it's one I was advocating in general terms the last meeting, and I think you put it into reality. And I just want you to know I support it. I support the May 7th date because I want students to be involved. So I urge you to go forward.
Thank you, Larry. Anyone else? Because I think we're going to get tired soon. Bob, we have Bob. So if you want to speak, feel free to make yourself known. Bob started the day with us too, and he's ending it. So Bob and Doug here, they probably are sick of us.
My name is Bob Welch.
And Mike too.
Two comments. And one is a picky one. But those steps are sure steep for old people. And right, you sure have to have rails. So next time you get your pencil out.
Put some rails. Bob, the general public would come from the front. That's what our assumption is.
But that picture, that does give, I think, probably the best perspective of the roof line and really a lot more masonry than glass in that particular picture.
One thing which I heard today, Sheriff, you mentioned about the number of people who are held for one night, then released. Are there any other alternatives besides sitting in jail for the night? Can you release them in the morning? Could you release them at 11 p.m. or 1 a.m.? It is a question.
Yeah, the ones that we can get out, when they come in, driving under suspension, for example, or barred, not so much barred, but mostly driving under suspension, there are certain charges that our staff works pretty hard at signing out, just having them sign a promise to appear. Sometimes we run, we sort of run awry of the county attorney and the judges at times on some of those that we do because they don't believe that some of the cases we should be doing that. But nonetheless, there are certain cases that do, in fact, when they come, the reason they come, they have to come because of different reasons. So we do work on getting them out, and the ones that we can get out, we do get out. So nobody ever knows about those or sees those happen because it's really a behind-the-scenes type of thing. So there's a large number of people where that takes place. And as to whether or not they come to jail, well, oftentimes that's based on what they did, their actions. I think you might be, it's possible you're alluding to perhaps a public intox case and or not. But I'm gonna talk a little bit about that, okay? Generally, when someone gets arrested, if it's just for a public intox, for example, they have done something to draw the attention to themselves of a police officer. And it's after that initial contact, that police officer is going to make that decision on whether they go to jail or not. And what people have talked about is having a detox center. And what we've determined is a detox center is, there is some, obviously we have Mecca, but Mecca doesn't always have room on their detox beds. Oftentimes they're full because of the needs they have. But we talked about the possibility of having a detox center where a police officer makes an arrest and they transport this person to the jail, and this is hypothetically. And when they get to that jail, they make that hypothetical decision, okay, do I make a right turn and go into jail? Or is this person being decent, respectful, calm, not a problem, not gonna fight, and do I make this left turn and go into a detox center? Well, the problem with that is this hypothetical detox center, the state law in Iowa does not allow a detox center to be a locked facility. So what potentially, the potential problems that we have that could happen is we make that left turn into the detox center. The officer says, okay, Joe Smith has been very cooperative, not gonna fight, and so on. And so the police officer drops him off, goes back to work the street rather quickly. And as soon as the officer goes, Joe Smith all of a sudden becomes no person, I don't wanna be there, and walks out the front door because it can't be locked. And then they go on down the street, and then you have a couple of problems, okay? Does the police officer who originally got them, do we call them and tell them, hey, he walked away, and do they spend the resources going and looking for him? Or do we have a concern about Mr. Smith, when he walks out of that detox center that cannot be locked, walking across the street in front of a car and getting run over? Do we have an issue there as well? So because of the detox center not being locked, that's why it really hasn't been developed. I would like to see it, but the work I've done with the legislature to try and get that language changed has not gotten going at all. So, but to get back to the original question is, there are many people that do get arrested to jail and do get signed out or bonded out prior to court happening the next morning. So the ones that have to see the judge the next morning have to see the judge, or they were not cooperative or not able to come up with bond. And quite frankly, there are some people that call and ask someone to post bond for them, and they say, I think it's best for you to just sit in jail.
Do you know what percentage of the people that are arrested spend the night, and those that are released?
I couldn't even venture a guess on that. I would guess it's fairly low, 20, maybe 30%, I don't know.
Of the normal public incomes.
Well,
Like, I'm down at the bar and I get a little crazy and I get arrested.
there are times where public intox people can and will be signed out, and that is if they sobered up in time, let's say they weren't heavily intoxicated, and they have someone who is willing to come down, who has not been drinking and willing to take responsibility for them.
I was at the jail one night during a night football game, and I just was in command center watching. I just want to clarify, I was not a resident. And it was interesting how quickly people were getting bonded out before they actually were there, in a way. Because before the university had transferred them, their family had already called, because they had called someone and said, and you release them to a sober, responsible adult, and you alcohol test the person who comes to get them.
Yeah.
But you don't do it until they've sobered up enough that you feel like they're capable of leaving with this other person.
Yes,
Um,
yes, all that is true. Or something else, I lost my train of thought, but yes, that's all true. There are times where actually people arrested, such as on serious driving offenses, they actually beat the arresting officer out the door because the arresting officer may have some additional paperwork that they didn't get all done or something like that. So that does happen.
Well, I have a suggestion that kind of information can also be helpful.
Yeah.
And one other thing, I felt the board of supervisors, when they built this building, made the wise decision in terms of shelling out the third floor for expansion. And I think your adjustment to the
I'd like a little comment to what you told Bob, that, you know, getting out of jail quickly. You have the same correlation with individuals with mental health issues. The officers quite often will arrest someone, take them over to the university or to the hospital for mental health evaluations and assistance. And unless they're court committed, they walk out as well. So you can't just put someone in a detox center and keep them there, because you can't even keep someone with mental illness in for some treatment at the time that they may need.
Go right.
And just to clarify on Rebecca, with the detox, they have 6 beds for detox. There's one room that has 4 beds, and another room that has 2. And so we split those between male and female. We also, in those beds, serve anybody who is under middle order, for their training is held, and also for people that are scheduled in for treatment services who show up intoxicated, which you can imagine happens when you need residential treatment for substance use, you show up frequently intoxicated. So we have limited resources. Just this past week, we got a phone call from a Coralville officer that transported somebody for a detox. A few months ago, we had a call from a city officer for the same request. It doesn't happen frequently, but it is known in law enforcement that it is an option to bring somebody in to detox.
And the county invests heavily in that, for this. More comments from the public or any members?
Brian Carlson with the Samuels Group. I wanted to just make a couple of comments with regard to fiscal responsibility that the board has for the county. And I would commend both the committee and the board for what it is that clearly you've gone through with yourself as well as a design team, a lot of challenging discussions. A couple of things that I want to share with you. Our firm is involved with construction and management of projects, both in the Justice Center work and also in the detention center work. Quite a fair amount done with the state of Iowa. I mention that because the process that you've gone through, I think, is appropriate to be able to maintain the plan that you have for long-term needs that you know that you're going to have, and yet at the same time take advantage of some current financial benefits that, quite frankly, the entire nation is enjoying. Two things I think that are probably appropriate for the public to be aware of is there's a lot of construction activity going on in the state of Iowa. It's very fortunate for us in the state. What you will also see is not only has the board and the committee taken the time to make the appropriate plans for use of funds for this kinds of project, but so also has the private sector. Large construction projects going on with regard to fertilizer production in the southeast. In the northwest, there's a lot of construction going on in Des Moines, as well as all the construction that goes on just across the river at the university. So I commend the board as well as the committee for not only looking at the costs that are involved and opportunities that you have for saving money, but also the timing is really crucial. As the entire country starts to continue to pull out of the recession that we have been in, we do know that construction costs continue to rise. And as was mentioned earlier in the meeting, it's very appropriate to try to spend and invest the money in the best possible manner at this particular time and be able to defer some of those costs for down the road. So congratulations for doing a great job.
Anything else from anybody, public or committee members? All right, so we haven't actually decided, we just got to this working draft on Monday, so we wanted to put it out to you to digest, to get some feedback, and you know, we haven't decided when we're gonna formalize anything. I think we'll try to get some feedback and get some people talking about it. We are actually working on the language of this up until we email it to you, so I caution it says draft, if there are typos in here, please don't hold us against us.
There's plenty of work to do here. I mean, I've been fairly quiet. I think in part because I wanted to hear what you folks thought, kind of first blush. And, all of us are available. And I think that I'd like to hear now from those subcommittees to take a look at this draft and think apart of it. For public information and outreach, there are still plenty of things to look at, including concept, but it's also a jail. There are things that have been brought out that I think that, a lot of community members probably want further clarification. How did we come up with 195 beds? Why not just build 160 like everyone says? And there are some reasons for that. You can't put all men and women in the same spot. You have to have some wiggle room. So I think that public information and outreach will be going through a number of education initiatives, getting a better feel for where there were some weaknesses in the November election, getting better understanding of the location, explaining to people that we spent over 2 years in consultants in deciding where to locate this project. So there's a lot of work yet to come. But I think that for our subcommittee's sake, it would be nice for you folks to all kind of gather and for our February meeting, really come back and scrutinize this so that we have an opportunity to get this back in front of the voters, because that's ultimately what this is all about. I mean, it's about putting a plan together, tweaking it, if you will, certainly adjusting and recognizing some of the things that were concerns for residents. But ultimately, it is up to the voters. It's up to the people to decide. I think that this proposal so far, this draft, is one that deserves citizens taking another look and having an opportunity to decide if they want to move forward in this kind of direction or not. So that's what I would suggest though for our subcommittees, to really kind of take a step back and think where are we if we presented this kind of plan in May.
Anything other from anyone, Pat, Ron? Anybody else? Okay. I was just checking my calendar. I have the next meeting, this committee meeting, as February 6th at 4. I have 5:30 on my calendar. Why is?
Because we have the ISAC suits.
Oh, right. Okay, I just changed it because I thought I typed it in wrong. So February 6th at 5:30 in this room. The board will be coming from Des Moines, which is why we needed to make it a little later. And subcommittees, make your meeting plans and make that agenda known so that members of the public can know, or the time known, so members of the public can get there. Is that where we are? Yes, Mayor.
One other thing, and I was going to ask the public, I think one of the issues that was brought up to the committee was that they didn't think the Justice Center was the proper name to put on this. There's a jail, considered a jail. I'm not sure what title we could change that to that would include a jail as well as the court system, the courts, and county attorney's offices and the sheriff. So if anyone has any ideas or suggestions, certainly welcome to give those to us. I'm not sure what else we can call it. So if anybody has any ideas, we certainly like to have them.
Yeah, I think there was definitely some interest in how it's presented and emphasizing the jail, but also some ballot language, more clarity in the ballot. I think those are things we look at.
Well, I see thumbs up, but they don't like the name of the background.
That's
And
right.
when we tried to capture it, Maria, we didn't try to hide anything, we added in ballot language, but again, we're not quite clear how to do that, so, if anybody has any ideas, let us know. Subcommittees will meet in the interim, and the full committee will meet on February 6th at 5:30. If there's nothing else, last chance, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.